All right, and the Kingdom of Lesotho will hold general elections on the 7th of October to elect new members of parliament. At least 60 political parties have registered with the IEC to contest this year's general election. The Socialist Revolution Party, also known by its Sesotho name, Kanana, Basotho, has launched its election manifesto and is eyeing a big win. The party was formed by 2017 after falling out with the ruling ABC, which is led by the Prime Minister which was led by the then Prime Minister Thabane. To understand what the party promises for Basotho, we're joined now in studio by the leader of the Socialist Revolution Party, Advocate Teboho Mojapela. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good evening, ma'am, and thanks for having me.
Let's first start with your election manifesto, what you're promising Basotho. Just the quick salient points on that.
Actually, what is at stake at the moment in our country is that, first and foremost, our people are quite exhausted with politics of promises that are never actually executed. So we are very mindful that we do not fall prey to that. So our main objective is to ensure that there is the rule of law in our country, because without it, nothing will actually fall into place.
I'm glad you mentioned the issue of the rule of law. You've been quoted as saying that corrupt leaders must be killed. Is this an accurate description of your sentiments or your thoughts or even your statements?
I don't think there is a normal person who can wake up wanting to see people be murdered or killed. But given the crisis in which we find our country in which case or wherein after each and every election, those that are elected to power just do one and the same thing. They be corrupt. They just commit corruption like it is an order of the day.
Okay, you have said that the extent of the problem in Lesotho with regards to corruption requires a robust and aggressive approach. In fact, you were quoted as saying in speaking to the Lesotho Times that you would track down those who stolen public funds and deal with them mercilessly. So what exactly did you mean? And I know you quoted China and how they deal with that, including the death penalty.
Fact of the matter is, what I have in my mind is not necessarily to kill people. But if people cannot hear by their ears, they will have to be made to feel by their skin. That's all the message that I want to convey to them. All
right, so how far would you go to make those whose pleas to stop corruption, that it should fall on deaf ears? How far would you go as a party, should you be in government, to make them listen? And we'll go back to some of the statements you've made about some of the political party and how you view their actions in terms of corruption and their lack of accountability. So how far would you go to make them listen?
I will do anything that it takes to make them understand.
So anything would include if they need to face the death penalty, they would do so?
Yes.
Okay, so that is fair to say that. So we'll come back to some, or perhaps maybe let me just come back to some of what you've said about the other political parties. You've spoken about the Revolution for Prosperity, for instance, as rotten. You've called them corrupt people with questionable conduct, members who are gluttonous. How would you qualify this? And I know corruption in itself is bad, but you clearly have a ranking in terms of the political parties that are on the scene, from the least corrupt to the most corrupt.
Yes.
Share that with us.
Though I didn't get your question quite clear, but let me try it. I think with respect to RFP, they have been part and parcel of these governments. And they have been beneficiaries, direct beneficiaries for that matter, of corruption, because they have been benefiting from the tenders for so many decades. And that in itself says there's that imbalance of the distribution of wealth amongst the citizens of Lesotho. The reason why there is this perpetual poverty, you know, because if the minority concentrate on just looting or maybe getting the benefits, that is to say, the majority become the losers.
So I'll go back to what I was asking is the extent of corruption, not only according to your party, the Socialist Revolution Party, but as what is seen as common cause in Lesotho. You've been asked about if you are willing to go into coalition governments, and you have said, for instance, you would not enter into a coalition government with the ABC, the Alliance for Democrats, a Democratic Congress. You've called them as all rotten, including the RFP, and that's to do with corruption. What exactly is it that you feel puts them in this category? Is it common cause? Could you educate South Africans or those who are unfamiliar with the allegations of corruption against them? Okay.
The thing is, there is nobody who can claim not to know the situation in which Lesotho finds itself, especially insofar as the economy is concerned. So there is no way in which I can separate all these political parties. They are one and the same thing, because much as they don't see eye to eye, that is those that are in power right now and the RFP, like I said earlier, RFP is a direct beneficiary of those tenders over a long period of time. So I cannot voluntarily say I want to get into coalition with any of these corrupt political parties.
What are they guilty of? The level of corruption, share with us incidents there of
no,
the accusations.
I think, yes, of course, I cannot say they have, they're guilty before they have been.
Yes, that's why I say the allegations. What are the accusations?
But the fact of the matter is, we see what is going on in a country. And what is going on is, time and again, there are these people that are direct beneficiaries of the resources of our country. And that is where the crux of the matter lies. That says, even if we can just go out of our way and say, we promise people good health, creation of jobs, this and that, that cannot happen because our country is poor. And that poverty has been brought by these political parties. That ensure, like for instance, this year there has been a report that 6.1 billion has been looted within maybe a period of 5 years. And this has been happening over a long period of time. So what is it that we can promise people while the country is impoverished?
It's a very interesting timeline. You say over the last 5 years. In 2017, you left the ABC, and of course that means the period thereafter, this is when you identify some of this corruption. Yes. Before that, would you say the ABC did not have corrupt tendencies?
Before then, I was not so close to the ABC because for a variety of reasons. I was a member then, but then through this illegal, whatever, immoral or whatever actions by the political parties, I had to leave Lesotho in 2012, where my life was at risk. I was nearly assassinated in 2012. But then in 2017, I made it a point that I did all in my capacity to ensure that ABC got into power because the former Prime Minister, Thabane, was aging, in my view. Then I did everything to ensure that he got into power. Very unfortunate, I wasn't even aware that he would pursue the things that we were complaining about.
Such as?
Such as the very same corruption. Corruption in the sense that, I mean, they have been employing their friends. They never cared about those who looted prior or those who came before them. So they pursued, in actual fact, the reason why I left the ABC was, we agreed that I didn't want any favor myself. But the problem was, our country and our people are so poor that they need a very serious and robust intervention, wherein they were not interested.
Mr. Mojapela, why is it that, as you say, the points that you raise, you have said you find it very difficult to make headway, infiltrate the hearts of Basotho to bring your message to them? If you say to people, we live in a poor country, corruption is rampant, and we need to arrest it, why do you think you're not able to capture the hearts of Basotho to the extent that you would like to?
Actually, what is needed to capture their hearts means that we need to educate people about politics. And the extent to which, if people take politics for a ride, they will always be the losers. So that is to say, if we want to see Lesotho change, we need to be patient with the voters in order to teach them what actually politics entails. For instance, Tanza and Jackson put it briefly in that when you talk of politics, or if you want to define politics, politics is all about ethics, where people don't do things as they please. They abide by the law. And the voters should know their rights and duties, wherein the rule of law should always be paramount to anything in the country.
What would encourage that level of constitutionalism in your view? And I know we spoke earlier about your belief that there needs to be an aggressive standpoint to bring people to book. There have been various constitutional changes to bring about a fairness, transparency within the system. But what would encourage better constitutionalism? And are you in agreement with the constitutional changes that have been made recently with the help of SADC?
There have been many, trials and errors or whatever that have been tried to put into place to try fix the problems of our country, but nothing worked out. That is to say, we need to focus on proper leadership in courts. That is the only thing that we're lacking. Not
what
only in
are you
Lesotho.
offering Basotho as a SRP, the kind of proper leadership that you believe you can give them?
Yes. Let me put it this way. In order to fix the problems of our country, we do not necessarily need to promise them things that we cannot execute, like I said, because that has been a norm, or it has been a song of years. So we needed to actually find out what is the root problem of our country, the root cause. So we know for sure that the problem that we lack in Lesotho, because we have enough resources, we have diamonds, we have enough water, we have the sandstone, you name it, wool and mohair, they're in abundance. Or the only thing which lacks in Lesotho is proper leadership, which is courageous, which is trustworthy, which leads the people, which gives people hope. And that will be seen by,
All right. Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to speak to us. Advocate Teboho Mojapela, who is the leader of the Socialist Revolution Party in Lesotho.